Welcome to The Growth Spurt, a weekly AI podcast by the Second Baptist Church of Ann Arbor. Today, we're taking a deep dive into Dr. Stephen J. Daniels Sr.'s sermon.
Okay.
Words matter. Choose wisely.
Ooh.
This one really got me thinking about the power of language, you know, and how our words reflect what's going on in our hearts.
It's fascinating how he frames this, He doesn't just focus on avoiding profanity.
Right.
He digs deeper into the intentions and the impact behind every word we choose.
Exactly. It's like there's this whole hidden dimension to our language that we don't always consider.
Mm-hmm.
He even uses this phrase, Christian code switching, to describe how we adjust our language depending on who we're with.
Ah, yes. Christian code switching. It's like we become vernacular chameleons, adapting our speech to fit in with different groups.
Yeah.
But Dr. Daniels challenges us to ask, is that authenticity? Or are we masking our true selves?
That's such a good question.
Yeah.
It makes you think about whether our words are genuinely reflecting our faith or just fitting a social mold. And he really drives this point home with a story about a church member who was surprised that no profanity was explicitly listed in the fasting guide.
Huh. Interesting.
It's a simple example, but it reveals how easily we can make assumptions about what's acceptable.
And those assumptions can lead to miscommunication and even offenses, right? Because what might seem like a harmless phrase to one person could be deeply hurtful to another.
Absolutely. It's a reminder to be mindful of our audience and the potential impact of our words.
Yeah.
Dr. Daniels doesn't let us off easy, though.
No, he doesn't.
He asks this really thought-provoking question. Would Jesus use the language that you use?
Whoa, that's a powerful one.
Right.
It forces us to confront the gap between our faith and our everyday language.
For sure.
Are we truly striving to speak in a way that reflects Christ's love and compassion?
Right. It's a call to hold ourselves to a higher standard. And this is where Dr. Daniels introduces three key questions that we should all be asking ourselves when it comes to the words we choose.
I like it. Okay, ready. Give me number one.
Okay, so the first question is my language foul or abusive? And this goes beyond just obvious profanity.
Okay.
It also includes language that's harsh, demeaning, or intended to tear others down.
He's really challenging the idea that there are big sins and little sins when it comes to language.
Right.
Dr. Daniels argues that all sin is equal in God's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And even seemingly minor offenses can have a significant spiritual impact.
Yeah, it's so easy to fall into the trap of comparing ourselves to others.
Yeah.
Well, at least I don't use that word.
Right, exactly.
But Dr. Daniels pushes us to look beyond those comparisons and focus on the overall tone and impact of our communication.
I love that. Focus on the tone and the impact.
Yes. So the first question is all about recognizing if our language is harmful.
Okay.
That's the second question Dr. Daniels poses.
Okay, I'm ready. The second question shifts the focus from avoiding negativity to actively using language that builds up and encourages others. He asks, are my words edifying or offensive?
I love how he frames that. It's not enough to just refrain from hurtful language. We're called to use our words to lift people up, to offer encouragement, to spread positivity.
Exactly. And he cautions against dismissing others' feelings when our words cause offense. We've all probably heard phrases like, you're too sensitive, or I was just kidding.
Oh, yeah, all the time.
But Dr. Daniels emphasizes that we need to take responsibility for our communication and be mindful of the impact it has on those around us.
This is so important, especially in today's world, where it's easy to hide behind screens and forget that there's a real person on the other side of our words. But there's one more question Dr. Daniels wants us to consider, isn't there?
Yes, the third and final question gets to the heart of the matter. Does my speech reflect the love of God? That's the ultimate measure, isn't it?
It really brings it all back to our faith. If we're truly striving to be more like Christ, then shouldn't our words reflect that love? Shouldn't they be kind, compassionate, forgiving, uplifting?
And this is where those automatic responses we often give when we've offended someone come into play. Those knee-jerk justifications that pop up.
Oh, totally. Like, they had it coming, or God knows my heart, or even just, it's just a word.
Yeah.
We've all been there, right?
Dr. Daniels calls us out on those excuses. He emphasizes that they don't erase the hurt caused by our words. It's like he's saying we can't just throw words out there and then wash our hands of the consequences.
It's a powerful reminder that we need to own our words, both the positive and the negative. And he even uses this striking analogy of a 5-alarm signal going off in heaven where we dish out hurtful words and then go about our day without a second thought.
Oh, wow. I like that. That image really stuck with me, too. It highlights the weight our words carry, even if we don't always realize it in the moment.
And it connects back to that idea of our words being a reflection of our hearts. If we're constantly putting out negativity, that's a pretty clear indication of what's going on inside, right?
Absolutely. And Dr. Daniels reminds us that we can't compartmentalize our faith. Our actions, including our words, should be a consistent expression of our beliefs.
So we've talked about those automatic excuses we make. But what about when we try to justify our words to God himself? Using those, I was stressed, or they made me mad explanations.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mean it.
Right.
He makes it clear that God doesn't offer cosigners for our bad behavior. Our circumstances don't give us a free pass to use hurtful language. It's a call to radical personal accountability.
That's a challenging concept, for sure. It forces us to confront our own role in the way we communicate, even when it's difficult.
He's encouraging us to consider the potential impact of our words before we speak and to choose a more loving response even when we're feeling provoked.
It's about taking that pause, recognizing that our words have a ripple effect that extends far beyond ourselves.
And this leads to a really interesting point he makes about the Day of Judgment. He reminds us that every idle word is being recorded.
Whoa, yeah. He brings up Matthew 12.36-37, where Jesus talks about giving an account for every word we speak. That's definitely something to ponder.
He paints this picture of standing before God and having to explain those careless comments, those moments of gossip, those times when we let anger dictate our words.
That puts things in a whole new perspective. It's not just about how our words affect us in the moment, but about the eternal weight they carry.
Exactly. Dr. Daniels is urging us to think about our personal lens of Christianity and how it shapes our communication. Are we using our words to build others up or to tear them down?
It's like he's saying our words will either acquit or condemn us on that final day. Powerful thought.
It's not about achieving perfection, but about making a conscious effort to align our language with our faith. It's a process, and we'll inevitably stumble along the way. But the key is to keep striving, keep learning, keep growing in our communication.
And it's not about waiting for others to change their language. It's about taking ownership of our own words and setting an example for those around us.
He challenges us to break free from that get-back mentality, where we feel the need to respond to every offense with an equally hurtful remark. Instead, he suggests focusing on the long game, the eternal perspective. What if our goal was to go an entire day without letting negativity or harmful language slip from our lips?
He calls it an undefeated day. And I love that imagery. It's about training our minds and our tongues to be more disciplined, more resilient, more focused on the ultimate goal.
And it's not about suppressing our feelings. It's about finding healthy and constructive ways to express them without resorting to hurtful language.
He reminds us that choosing silence, choosing kindness, choosing forgiveness are often the most powerful responses.
Dr. Daniels even gives us permission to hit that end call button on conversations that are pulling us down or leading us away from our faith.
It's about setting boundaries and protecting our spiritual well-being. It's about remembering that verse. Let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone.
It's about being intentional with our words and using them to build up rather than tear down. It's about letting our language be a testament to the transformative power of God's grace.
And he acknowledges that changing our language habits isn't easy. But he encourages us to pray for guidance, to seek support from our faith community, and to remember that we don't have to do this alone.
We have the Holy Spirit to guide us, the support of our fellow believers, and the grace of God to help us every step of the way.
He reminds us that change is possible, growth is attainable, and even in the area of language, we can become more like Christ.
He concludes with a powerful call to action, urging us to decide today that we want to be better, to speak better, to let our words reflect the love of God.
He reminds us that we have the power to choose every single day what kind of language we will use, what we want to be remembered for, our hurtful words or our words of encouragement.
What kind of impact do we want to leave on the world? Dr. Daniels challenges us to use our voices for good and to let our language be a testament to the transformative power of God's grace.
That's a powerful message to take away from this sermon. It really makes you stop and think about the words you use every day, doesn't it? So as we wrap up this deep dive into Dr. Daniels' sermon, what's one key takeaway that stands out to you?
You know, for me, it's that simple but profound reminder that our words have power. They can build or destroy, encourage or discourage, heal or wound, and we have a responsibility to wield that power carefully and intentionally.
I completely agree. It's not about being perfect or never making a mistake. It's about recognizing the impact of our words and making a conscious effort to use them for good.
And he makes this beautiful point, about how our words are a reflection of our hearts.
Right.
If we want to speak words of love, kindness, and encouragement, we need to cultivate those qualities within ourselves.
It's a lifelong journey of growth and transformation, and our language is both a reflection of that journey and a tool to help us along the way.
And he leaves us with this final thought-provoking question.
Yeah.
What will the day of judgment look like through your lens of Christianity? Will your words acquit or condemn you?
It's a sobering thought that our words have eternal significance. They echo not only in the hearts of those around us, but also in the halls of heaven. This deep dive into Dr. Daniel's sermon has been a powerful reminder that words matter.
It's a call to choose our words, wisely speak with grace and intention, and let our language reflect the love of God.
Go in peace, be blessed, and may the joy of Jesus be yours. We'll see you next week.